Lads, we're finally back all together. We've got all the gang. Tank's looking great. Jimmy's looking great. Jimmy's giddy. He's got his new microphone cover on. He's got loads of stories to tell us. Tank, Jim, how are you, lads?
Good, mate. Good.
All the best.
Oh, what you all acting all quiet for now?
Yeah, we've been ripping the arse out of each other, and then we're all like,
Tank, you were in Disneyland, mate. Tell me about the trip. How did you get on?
It's one of the worst trips in my life. I can
bad?
say that because Frankie's
like?
no, listen, it's great for kids, but fuck me, come on, it's not for parents, is it? You know, that little fucker's getting pushed around in a pram. He's all right. I'm walking 35,000 steps a day, and my hips gone, my knees gone. 4 o'clock, my missus is saying, "Why are you walking like that?" I said, "Because my body's collapsing."
Oh Jesus!
And then we go back. Oh yeah, we go back to the hotel, and there's like just a little glimmer of hope. I'm like, yeah. The hotel, cup of coffee, and then we're like, we get a quick shower, we go back out at 6. And then, like, you know, you're standing up at 11 o'clock at night when the fireworks showing with Frankie on your shoulders for 40 minutes, and it's like, there's nothing worse, in my opinion, than that.
I tell you what, I hope we've got exercise. We've got no kids listening. We just ruined the illusion of Disney World there.
It's great for Frankie. Listen, if someone says to me, we go to Disneyland, and if you get tired, we'll put you in the pram and we push you around, and you can have a little drink and that and a lolly ice. Like, oh yeah, I'm up for that. That's fine for me, that.
But 10 years out, mate.
Yeah, it's fucking, honestly, it was an absolute, it was brilliant for him, but honestly, fuck me, boys, it's not a holiday. Anyone who says you go to Disneyland on holiday, you're a liar. No. You don't.
It's not a holiday, is it? It's good, like you say. You're not chilling out, are you? You know you've got to fucking put in the effort.
Yeah.
What about you, Jim? What about you? Hopefully had a better trip than Tank.
Yeah, mate, it was good. 2 weeks in the sun. It's just, you're basically looking after your kids in warmer climates is what you're doing. Chasing after them in the pool, going down the slides, playing footy in the pool. It was good, mate. Really good. I got blackout drunk as well.
I was going to say, are we allowed to mention it?
Yeah,
there was some risk of banged up abroad episodes getting.
Yeah. But I was going to say, like, I've always genuinely believed you can't get drunk on all inclusive because the vodka's blag, the beer's watered down. Like, yeah, you'll get tipsy, but you can never. And we started on the vodka sprites at about 5 o'clock, and then more vodka sprites, and then the families left us, so it was just the two boys.
Them vodka sprites, not vodka lemonade. What's that about?
Well, yeah, because it's the lemonade over there.
I was like, what is
this? No, you're right. It's. I'm still in Greek mode. So lemonade over there is like Fanta lemon rather than lemonade. So you say lemonade to give you Fanta lemon, whereas Sprite is lemon and lime. So.
Okay, fair enough.
Vodka lemonade, let's just say, and we've got more vodka lemonades, and it got to 7 o'clock, and we're going for tea. We're still in our swimming shorts on the vodka lemonades. Keep going, and then the last thing I remember was walking up to the mini disco about 8:30, and then the next day there was pictures of me I got changed somehow. I had to go get to the restaurant and get some food, and God knows, could you imagine seeing me at the food? Like I would have been all over the place, like chips everywhere. And then I woke up fucking piss wet through. I thought, oh no!
I was going to say, you're going to. I didn't know how much you wanted to share here, Jim.
It happens to the best of us, mate. I have no shame, lad. Like I said, I was blackout drunk. I have no idea what was going on. So I woke up like piss wet through, going, "Oh no, I fell in the pool, my boxers." Like, and then I got dead angry at the wife because I was like, "Oh, she's took all my clothes off, but she left me in my wet boxers." Like, well, fucking twat.
It's her fault. I've pissed myself.
Her fault, yeah. And then I was panicking, going, "Shit!" My phone was in my pocket. That's gone in the pool. I literally upgraded the day before we left. I was like, "Brand new iPhone gone." Oh. And then she woke up. I was like, I can't believe I fell in the pool. She was like, you didn't fall in the pool. I was like, oh, no, I've pissed myself, haven't I?
Emotional roller coaster there.
Yeah. So at least my phone was safe. So happy days. Straight onto housekeeping. Wow, we need a new mattress in there. So one of the kids pissed the bed. Yeah, honestly.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, blame the kids. Fair play to you, mate. I obviously knew that had gone down. I didn't think you were going to tell the story.
I don't mind that. All fun and games, isn't it? Like
the football. Before we get into the football, I'm surprised we've been on for 4 minutes and you haven't mentioned that you're top of the fantasy football
You know
league,
what,
Jim?
mate?
The
I've
boot room
had an
fantasy football.
absolute storm. I'm top of every league I'm in, and I normally give up after week 1.
Stato.
115 points. This is what happened. You know, if I put this much effort in everyday life, lad, I'd be fucking flying.
Look, there's a long way to go yet. I'm having
I'm
an
quitting
absolute
anyway, mate.
stinker.
I'm out.
Yeah, that's it.
Cheers,
Quit at
lad.
the top. Quit at the top. Tank, I want to come to you first because obviously Forest had the game on yesterday against Spurs. It was a cracking game, I have to say. I absolutely loved it. We've had loads of chat on our social media channels about it and people asking your opinions about it. I want to first of all get your reaction because I suppose for me, looking at this, I'm enjoying the bravery that Forest are showing, not only in the market but also on the pitch. Yesterday felt like a game of basketball at times. It was end to end. It was a great game for the neutral.
Brilliant game, and actually, you've hit the nail on the head. It's bravery. You come out and I don't think there's many clubs in Europe who take Tottenham on 3v3 with that front three. And Forest were brave enough just to trust the 3 centre halves to try and contain them, and I thought they were outstanding. Not to use what Carragher say, but he was bang on really. Just the only difference between the two sides was in both boxes. You know, you've got Kane, who let's get it right. That first goal, I don't think many forwards even see that.
Yeah.
I thought he scuffed it at first, but then when I watched the back, I was like, that's fucking ridiculous. It's like, it's a serious finish. He's a serious player.
Football's ruthless at the top level, though. That's the thing.
That's it. Because Forest started unbelievable, and the atmosphere was, they were getting balls into the box. I thought Gibbs White was really, really bright and linking up at Lingard and Brennan Johnson, and I thought they were causing them problems. And then in the blink of an eye, you're 1-0 down, and that's the Premier League. But this is a different Spurs side to what I've seen for a while under Conte as well. But I just think Forest need a lot of credit. You know, they've had to make many signings. They made another 2 today, by the way.
I saw that. It seems like every time we do a podcast, they've signed a new squad.
I think that's 19. I think that's 19 signings now. But look, it was needed because they lost a lot of players out of contract. A lot of players who were on loan went back, and the squad was really, thin. So they had to go out and take a chance. And I think Forest are going to be absolutely fine. I've got to be honest with you. Not too many sides to go to that City ground, but that atmosphere, the way Forest play, and come away with much. I'll be honest with you. The top boys will, don't get me wrong, because they're the top boys for a reason. But I think Forest will be absolutely fine this season.
Jim, it kind of feels with Forest, the amount of players that they've signed, it feels like some of the non-league squads that me and you have played in over the years. A new manager comes in and brings in 24 players for pre-season. Yeah. Have you had, obviously you've been away, have you had a chance to watch much of the games?
I actually watched the Forest Everton game last week. I must say both teams were awful that day. And it livened up in the last 10 minutes. So, and then Forest looked good when Yates came on and Gibbs White came on. The only worry I've got for Forest is, although they're getting a lot of these plaudits and being told well done, the last team that got these sort of plaudits when coming up was Blackpool. And yeah, they started well, but they went straight back down because of the way they played, which is great. But does that keep you in the Premiership? So that's my only worry. I hope they don't do a Blackpool and play really attacking great football, but suffer.
Blackpool never signed a player, though, Jimmy.
No, I know. Don't get me wrong. I know.
Forest have had. I think Forest have had real quality. They signed the left back from Atletico Madrid today. He's a serious player, by the way. He's like a Brazilian international, and they've got the boy.
The best left back since you. Some of the comments have come on social media.
It's not that loady. Have they signed that loady?
Yes,
they signed him. Mate,
yeah. And then they've got Bowley from Wolves, another big unit centre. I just think, and actually you've just hit the nail on the head there, Jimmy. They were poor against Everton. Everton were poor, but the changes what Forest were able to made it, and they should have won the game. Yates had a great chance towards the end, and I just think they're looking to spend up towards 200 million now.
No,
it's a phenomenal investment, and
I think they will be all right. I'm just saying, it's just a worry where when Blackpool came up and they had Charlie Adam pinging balls and they were going gung-ho, hell for leather, everyone loved the football, but they went down because of it. Now, not many teams come up and stay up playing that kind of football. Your Stokes, Fulham tried it, they go straight back down. I'm fairly certain they'll stay up. That's my only worry for Forest.
I suppose it kind of begs that question, though, doesn't it? It's do you abandon what's got you there in the first place, and do you have to become more, more of a pragmatist?
Isn't it?
But you know what it is, though, Jim, and I said this to Tank before we started. I think with Forest, the league is not going to be decided for them when they play against teams like Spurs. Spurs are, a counter-attacking team can beat anyone on the day. And with Conte now, I think they've got more steel than they've had in previous Spurs teams. Be interesting to see, like Tank said it before the start, you could easily see, the likes of a Manchester United going to the City ground and getting turned over.
Yeah. Definitely.
You know what I mean? So I think
it's when you're playing your Crystal Palaces, your Bournemouth, that's the ones where you're going to find out that who's got the. And again, the only thing that I think may go against him is that Premier League now that them teams have had from playing in the Premier League. But
the ruthlessness, you mean?
Yeah, like sitting in, hitting on the counter attack, letting them come on, and then just absolutely going forward and ripping them on the counter attack. And I'm not saying that will happen, and I hope it doesn't. But I'm just saying that would be my worry.
Tank, we got a question in from Stavesy17 who said, should the fans feel too down after the defeat? They played well, but to lose is bittersweet. You've got to, as a Forest fan, it must be a tough one because you see in your teams play well, but ultimately coming away from nothing, or it's just a little bit of perspective needed.
Perspective, really, but look, Forest haven't been in the Premier League for 23 years, and there's been a lot of change. I'm surprised how well they've gelled as a team, considering it's been ripped up. And, I am surprised. They're playing some really good football. They're linking well. They look organised. They're brave on the ball. And they're creating chances and they're causing teams problems. Now, this Forest side is only going to get better and better the more training they have with the manager, who I'm a massive fan of, by the way. I think he's brilliant. And the more they train together, the more they play together, the better they will become. I think Forest are going to be absolutely fine. I also think Fulham's going to be fine. But going on the results of the weekend, it's Tottenham. This is Tottenham. This is not like this is a top side. They went to Anfield and fucking basically took the league. You go to Chelsea away and don't play great and get a 2-2 draw. This Tottenham side, I'm telling you now, these are going to cause issues for the big two, supposedly the big two. I think City's, but, Tottenham could go to Man City like they've done quite a few times and turn them over and everyone go, yeah, well, that's your standard. So the fact that, Forest have played so well and come away with a 2-0 defeat, you got to be buoyed by that. And, these aren't the games that's going to define Forest season.
No, and you got to be positive as well. Dean Enson's been absolutely awesome. If you've got a keeper on form like that, as long as you can keep the goals down to a minimum and get the forward scoring, then, like you say, they'll be absolutely fine.
So if we move to the next game of the weekend, and this one's caused a little bit of a stir, and we got a couple of questions in around this one. And I have to say, Jim, you timed your return perfectly well with Liverpool, because while you're away, you may or may not have seen it, mate. Things probably haven't been as rosy.
Mate. What happened?
Nothing. It didn't hit the heights. Now, to be honest, look, I'm delighted that you weren't here for when we should think bet against United, because I would have ended up cancelling the podcast or stomping off in the mood or something. But Liverpool back to winning ways against Bournemouth this weekend. Much needed win for Liverpool. It's been a little bit of doom and gloom and a lot of questions asked around Liverpool at the start of the season. They've certainly not hit the heights, and I think it's probably more the manner of which they've played. They've lacked a little bit of intensity. Their big players don't seem quite at it, and by all accounts, it looks like Klopp's probably given them a bit of a rocket. Is it a worry for you, Jim, that maybe there is questions around some of the players' application and they've been able to turn around that hunger so quickly from one week to the next?
I think you've got
Is this where you're going to start annoying me now?
No. I think, don't get me wrong, the performance was unbelievable, but I was on holiday with a Bournemouth fan, so we watched the Bournemouth game, and Bournemouth are awful, like close to being one of the worst Premier League side I've seen. How that Adam Smith or whatever his name is at right back plays, he is god awful. So I think from a Liverpool point of view, it was a perfect game after a rocky start, and it's probably got your confidence up, because if you were playing maybe a Brighton or someone a little bit more now,
got a bit about them.
Yeah, it could have been a different question, but I still think questions are there. I personally would still be asking questions, and as good as the performance was, and on paper it looks like you're back, it'd be interesting to see how you get on over the next couple of games, and if you do come back to being the Liverpool that we all know, then it's great for you guys. But I'm still unsure, to be honest with you. I think you've had a very fortunate fixture after a tricky start.
Where are you with this, Tank? Because one of the questions that came in from Graham Murphy was about, should a team in the same league be getting beat 9-0 from another? And what questions, I suppose, does that ask of that team?
Well, I played in the Forest side, what got beat 8-1 by United.
Wasn't going to mention it, mate. Sorry.
It's okay. I scored, and you
have the perfect get out. Whenever this comes up on a podcast, it's just roll that out.
Yeah, it's probably the best goal in the game as well, so it makes no difference. Now it doesn't anyway. But I go back to that Forest side then, and it's all about circumstances. Should the team in the same league get beaten? I know nobody shouldn't, but when you've got one side like that United side back then, who was the fucking elite of the elite, by the way, back then. You had Giggs, Beckham, Scholes, Keane. You had all the Solskjaer come off the bench and score 4. That was a serious Man United side. But the Forest side, what got promoted, was decimated by the owner who sold Colin Cooper, the captain, Steve Stone, and Kevin Campbell, who scored 26 goals to get us promoted. Pierre Van Hooydonk's on strike. So you've got to look at the circumstances. So that you shouldn't get beat. But then when you look, and we went and signed lads who probably, he wasn't good enough for the Premier League at the time. It was like Neil Shipley, who'd had better, days prior to that. So it's a difficult one. And this Bournemouth side, they've spent no money, have they, at all? They've gotten the... Yeah, but they kind of struggled over the line to get promoted last season. They would run away at the time, but then I think the last couple of months they were quite poor, and they just about scraped over the line. Forest nearly caught them towards the end, and I just think the signs were there last season for Bournemouth, so they shouldn't be getting beaten 9-0, but all of the signs were there where if you get promoted or you want to improve in this Premier League, you have to spend the money. You have to invest in your squad. There's no other way you can be competitive in the Premier League unless you're splashing the cash on it. That's just the way the league is now.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like the narrative coming out of it. And there was something that I seen online which annoyed me a bit. Klopp went over to Scott Parker, and Klopp has spoken very well of Scott Parker and the job that he's had to do. And he nearly hinted at he's working under very strict conditions. You think of the size of the stadium. It's not like there's a huge amount of money coming in. It's not like they've been able to recruit a lot of players. And Scott Parker nearly admitted it after the game. He's like, we're not really at the required level. Reading between the lines, that's pretty much what he was saying. And Klopp went over to him and put his arm around him. And I read that as showing a little bit of humanity to somebody that he's got a bit of respect for. It's a tough place to be, stood there as the manager and your team's getting walloped 9-0. And obviously, as with everything these days online, Klopp has been accused of showing disrespect or mocking, absolute nonsense. Is it unrealistic, Jim, to think that Bournemouth can come into this league and put up a fight given the lack of investment?
No. And I don't think they've got the right mentality. If it was someone like a Stoke coming in and they had that team that was just so resilient and played awful football. And again, Bournemouth tried to
they can fight and scrap the way through.
Yeah, and then, go on the counter-attack, just throw long balls into the box and score your goals that way. Without Solanke, I don't think they'll score. Even with Solanke, I don't think they score that many. But without him, you're on a hide into nothing. So I just think they're going to. And again, we were asked the question: are they going to equal or better Derby's worst ever season? I think it could be on the cards. Yeah,
I do. I think you're right, mate. I think these could go down as the worst, in Premier League history. They just even Solanke. Can Solanke score in the Premier League?
No, I know. I'm not. And again, I'm saying without him, they can't score. Even with him, they probably aren't going to score. But it's their best hope.
Yeah.
I've failed massively on my agenda here because I like to kind of go through things that happen in games and whatever. And I'm going to break all my usual rules and I'm going to jump back to something that I missed because I want to get your opinion on it, right? Richarlison in the Forest Spurs game. I mean, and we know he's your mate, Jim, right? So you might have.
Oh, my mate. I'm getting
you and
grief off
Ricky.
Fred Funk going, oh.
Seeing that, giving you a bit. Giving you
I
a
never
bit.
said he was a nice person.
This is why I wanted to bring it up. So where do you sit on this? Because I have to say, like, we did a poll. Well, it wasn't a poll, but we asked people's opinions of players that don't play for your own team. Who do you like and who do you dislike? And there was a lot of mud being thrown towards Bruno Fernandes. He was not very popular. Kevin De Bruyne was very popular. Bernardo Silva and Richarlison were also two that weren't very popular. He annoys me. He's always annoyed me, Richarlison. He's the ultimate shite bag, and I think he loves to excel in that role. He's all right with it. And I love the dark arts. We speak about it all the time, Jim. You played with me. You knew that I love that type of stuff. I did think he overstepped the mark. It didn't feel like the type of game that you needed to do that. First of all, he gave the ball away trying to act like a dope. Second of all, like, don't disrespect Forest in that way. You know, it's not even like it was a meaningful piece of skill. You know, like people have tried to say, look at Neymar, he's an entertainer. That's not entertaining. That's taking the piss out of Forest. I didn't like it. Didn't sit comfortable with me. I'll come to you first, Tank, and then Jim. What did you make of it?
It's just a cock, isn't he? He's just a complete and utter prick of a player. He's everything what I couldn't stand about a player. I mean, and do you know what the thing is about it? I actually think there's a proper player in there.
Yeah.
I think if he focused on his actual
if he
playing,
channels the snide in the right way.
Yeah. Even if he just focused on the playing. I mean, did you see the bit before that where the Forest player just walked to get a throw in and literally didn't touch him, and he grabbed hold of his bollocks and was rolling around on the floor like he'd been punched? And then Carragher actually said no one's actually touched him. And then you're thinking, what the fuck are you doing? But I've got to be honest with you, if a player would have done that in my time, I'd have done him a lot more than what Brennan Johnson done. I'd honestly went right down his Achilles. I'd have really tried to hurt him because the showboating and then there's just utterly taking the fucking piss. I mean, it wasn't that type of game to do it. Spurs were in a fucking game. It was a proper game. Do you know what I mean? It was like end to end, as you were like a basketball game. And just to do stuff like, but it sums him up. The fella, honestly, I fucking can't stand him. I just think he's an absolute prick, but he does loads of good blocks.
I knew that was waiting for that, Jim. Where are you with this one, Jim?
He loves him. He loves
aside
him.
From his blocks. Aside from his blocks now.
I think that, like, as Tank said, there's a play in there. You don't play for Brazil, and you know. The issue I've got is there's doing.
You were a showboater, Jim, weren't you?
Yeah, so this is my point. Okay, there's doing showboating for showboating's sake to take the piss, but there's doing skills to defeat your opponent. So I was more a do skills to defeat your opponent, but people see it as showboating. What he did there is pure showboating, and then there's no two ways around it, and he deserves to get smashed. And I would fully expect if I was to do that to get smashed. But what a lot of people don't get with Neymar is different. Neymar does skills and tricks to defeat his opponent. He doesn't do it to showboat and take the piss when they're 7-0 up. So there's two very distinct differences. Whereas what he did there was pure and utterly shit house. Like I didn't like it at all. It doesn't mean that he's not a bad player. I'm not saying he's a bad player because of it. It's just a really shit bag move to do.
And I just want to jump again. Sorry for those listening for my jumpy, my jumpiness today, but I just want to go back to the Liverpool Bournemouth thing and get one thought from both of you before we move on to the next fixture. There's one thing that's very much in the news at the moment, and that is around Liverpool's desire to sign a centre midfielder. Obviously, Jim, you're definitely not a Liverpool fan, so I always find it interesting to get your perspective. Thank you very much. There's noises coming out of the club, potentially from Klopp. There's been an interesting interview from Van Dijk, who's spoke about the requirement and I suppose the level of effort it takes for players to play centre midfield for Liverpool in this system, and kind of hinted that they could probably do with bringing somebody in. Tank, there's news coming out today. David Ornstein, who seems to be the journo in the know these days, seems to be hinting that Liverpool's owners don't want to dip into the transfer market. You've been very vocal about them. We've had different views. I thought it was more on Klopp that he didn't want to sign a midfielder. You thought it was more on the ownership and have questions over them. Where do you sit on the club stance at the moment?
Me.
Yeah.
I've had this with you before, and people. I have arguments, mate, who's Liverpool fan to say, "Oh, but we're such a well-run club. It's the Liverpool way." Well, the Liverpool way is going to cost Liverpool progressing more because you can't stand still in this league. We've just been talking about promoted sides need to spend money. If you're at the top and Liverpool and Man City are at the pinnacle of this league, Man City go and spend big on Haaland and they go and spend big on Calvin Phillips and they bring the boy in from, I think it was Argentina, who looks a player as well. Jimmy's mentioned him. That's him. But there's no standing still. Now, we've been speaking on this podcast, I think, when we first started this a while ago, about Liverpool need midfield reinforcements, and that's going back about 2 years, and we just don't seem to do it. It's been an area where every single Liverpool fan knows we need some fresh, young, blood in that area, and it's coming to a stage now for me that I think, and I'll put this on Twitter, I think if we don't go out and sign a top midfield player before this winter closes and our injuries don't ease up, we won't make Champions League this season. I think it's that key. I do. I think it's that key because Chelsea spending another 150 million in the next day or so. Man United have spent 226 million. You've got Arsenal, who spent by end of this winter could possibly be spending 200 million. Man City spent about 100 odd million. And yet us net spend kings have spent 3 or 4 million. You can't keep doing that. You can't run a club and I said to you a while ago, Jamie, we're asking Klopp to run this with one hand tied behind his back.
I want to come back on that, but I want to get your opinion first, Jim, before I give my 2 pence worth. Where do you sit on this?
Yeah, I think you need to reinforce. That's blatantly obvious, isn't it? But the question you've got to ask is who's out there for what money? And I don't know how much Klopp's got to spend, and I don't know. I can see this being a Davis from Preston sticking plaster, sign a midfielder from anywhere, and then hopefully he does all right and the fans are appeased. But it reminds me of the season that Pochettino had such a good season at Tottenham, and then the summer afterwards they didn't give him any money whatsoever, didn't sign one player, and then I think he was gone within 3 or 4 months, and he was lauded as the next big thing.
If you're not after the Champions League final, wasn't it, Jimmy?
It was,
yeah. So if you're not investing in the squad, and if you're not putting people on their toes, and we saw it with Trent Alexander-Arnold when in the defeat to Man United, just completely stopped. Looked like he couldn't be arsed, but is there anyone there challenging him for his spot? Does he have that desire to stay there and go, yeah, I'm fighting for my place? So that's the problem when you've got a threadbare squad. You've got people who are happy with where they are and no one pushing them. That's why
the fire goes.
The fire goes. Of course it does, because you're sitting comfortable. Whereas, you think cool at Tottenham, do you think Son, Kane with Richarlison coming in are going to be sitting on the heels and with people waiting in the ring? Because Richarlison will want to get on the pitch. He'll want to start. So that's the thing in squad management for me is getting. It's not about signing players that better. It's about keeping everyone on the toes. And yeah, obviously you want to sign players better than what you've got, but it's keeping that movement of squad and freshness within it. Otherwise, like a river, if it stops flowing, it stagnates. So.
Oh, I like that one, Jim.
You like that one?
I like that. Was all right, that lad. That was good. For me, I think Liverpool probably need to bring in a midfielder. Well, not probably. They do need to bring in a midfielder. I've said this on other podcasts. I think it's been exasperated by the fact that Thiago's got injured and he's a specific type of midfielder. And I think he's very, very difficult for Liverpool to replace. I think once all bodies are back, you can look at it and say, okay, you've ultimately got, I think it's like 7 or 8 players fighting for 3 positions, but there's only certain players with specific profiles. So if Thiago's out that team, you're looking at it going, okay, who've we got to fill and be the creator? We haven't really got one. I've said it to Tank before we come on air, and I don't mind saying it. I've been, and you know this, Jim, the biggest Jordan Henderson fan over the years. I think he looks leggy. I think it's caught up with him. I think he finds it difficult to play in the more advanced role and ask him to be a box-to-box midfielder. And he's had to go to the well a lot for Liverpool. He's got a lot of miles in the legs. It's the same with James Milner. Although he's winning all these fitness tests, you've got to see in all its glory at Old Trafford on a big pitch how difficult it is for those lads to play at the top level and maintain the standards that Liverpool need. So I think Liverpool need freshening up. I'm absolutely against stopgaps. You mentioned a perfect example before, Jim, with Ben Davies, for example, coming in. Kabak was another one. If we can't do the right deal, I would be more inclined to say don't do anything. But I still think there is wider questions around. It seems like there's this narrative wheeled out summer after summer of next summer is the big one for Liverpool. Next summer is the big one. And I just think that Klopp needs some help. And midfield seems to be that next area in Liverpool's team that it needs developing. And if we don't get something done, we're ultimately going to be leaving ourselves with a lot of work to be doing next summer when we ultimately need to be replacing maybe three of the midfielders.
See, for me, Jamie, it's like, I know what Jimmy was saying about Richarlison coming in for competition for Kane and Son, but this is a totally different scenario with Liverpool. Liverpool need two players for me to come in and be that player, not be someone who's going to come in and say, look, I want to be a squad player. No, I think we need to go out and sign two players.
You are our midfield.
You are the midfield, and it's up to them now to get you out. I mean, you've hit the nail on the head. Liverpool's midfield, James Milner is brilliant. He's had an unbelievable career, and you can't have a bad word said about the lad. He should not be starting for Liverpool in centre midfield. I'm sorry, but he shouldn't. If you want to be cutthroat, you could say the same about Hendo. He can't play that. You said before, he could play the Fabinho role. He can't play either side. He hasn't got the legs. And I don't think he's got that sheer quality to cut teams open like Thiago has.
He's dead good at shouting, though.
He's
a leader. He is a leader. But for me, Liverpool, if we don't sign someone this window, mate, and I'll put my name to, we won't make Champions League football. If the injuries don't lighten up.
Get that written down.
I have, mate. Don't worry. I've got it clipped. It'll be going out tomorrow. Now, what it was, I think a lot of the teams competing for top four would still swap with Liverpool, and I think that's it. They would want to be in Liverpool's situation. And whilst I think it's one of them in it, when the neighbour gets a new fence or they get the garden done, you're looking over going, oh, maybe we should get ours. I think Liverpool still have a lot within their current setup that a lot of teams would be envious of. So I certainly wouldn't be writing off top four. I actually think if Liverpool didn't sign a midfielder, as long as we get people back pretty quick, which I think they are, I actually think Liverpool will still come second in the league. I think all talk of challenging City would disappear quite quickly.
Can I throw one at you then,
that's
Jamie?
Where I'm at.
Can I throw one at you?
Yeah.
We've got Newcastle at home.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, is it?
Just come closer to the mic there, Tan.
Sorry, we've got Newcastle at home on Wednesday. I think we'll drop points against them. So if we drop points against them, going with that midfield, and Arsenal win, we are 10 points behind Arsenal after 5 games.
That's
a. But I just think. I think it's do you know what, Jimmy? The problem is for me looking at this Newcastle is Newcastle are set up perfectly. Liverpool are a dream for Newcastle.
I think so. I know what you mean. I've actually been impressed with Newcastle. I think they've got I've said about Kieran Trippier. I think they've got a little bit of everything about them. The big thing that will help Liverpool this week is St. Maximum and who's I can't say his name. The centre mid Guatemares. He's injured. They're both injured, so it looks like they won't play. So that plays into Liverpool's hands.
That's different if he doesn't play, because I'm just more concerned if he's.
You're thinking the counter. You're getting sitting in.
If you've got that Sir Maximilian there with Trent bombing.
Sir Maximilian. That's the best one yet.
It's been a while.
There you go. So
that might be the best one ever. That, to be honest.
I just think if he's fit, mate, he tears us a new arsehole with Trent bombing on, and we've got him and with Gomez 1-on-1. I'm feeling the worst. I'm being honest with you. I've got a similar feeling what I had against Manchester United, and we forgot to mention that I was right about that.
I'm going to solely blame you. I get dead mad with things like this because I feel like you're like imagining these things into existence. Just tell me Liverpool are going to win all the games, will you?
No.
Jim, I want to come to you on Arsenal because Arsenal. So interesting one with Arsenal. I am a bit of a secret Arsenal fan, I think, now after watching All or Nothing. I actually think, to be fair, that Arteta doing a great job. I think they have recruited well. I think he's brought a feel-good factor about the team. I think that they've had handy fixtures. I absolutely do think that they've had handy fixtures. But the one thing I took from the Fulham game is maybe they've got a little bit of steel about them, as in they came through adversity. And a lot of these top teams, the Cities and Liverpool's over and United's over the years, we always say they find a way to win when they're not quite at it. What have you made of this Arsenal team?
I've seen two amazing players come in. I said Zinchenko as a player before, and Jesus will fit well into that Arsenal team. But I think they're getting the most out of Martin Odegaard as well, who
much quality, doesn't he?
Oh, mate, he should. You know, it's a shame he didn't get his opportunity at Madrid, but it's Madrid's loss is Arsenal's gain. So I think
got a bit of the Ozils about him, hasn't he?
Mate, but he's actually got a bit of effort in him. I think making him captain is an absolute. It's a wonder move, because what you do when you've got a player like that, when you make them captain, is I've had this myself, is players who sort of drift in and out of games, once they're captain, they feel like they can't do that. They feel like they have to give 100% every game. Whereas before, he may have drifted in and out and played when he can play.
I've just noticed your name on the screen. I knew he was up to something before, right? Because the screen changed in front of him. So for anyone listening and not watching, Jimmy has just changed his name on the screen to Saint Maximilian. I knew you were up to something.
I know what you mean, mate. It's no idea. But once you get song out of Odegaard, he gets a song out of everyone else. So if he's pulling the strings, and I think they shored up the defence, haven't they, with Ramsdale, Ben White's playing well, and with Gabriel as well. So I think they've built on a steady foundation. I think what will happen, I think they'll tail away again, to be honest with you. I think they'll start really strong and go through the season. But I just think their squad depth isn't as good as it should be and can be for a top four Premier League side. I like Arsenal. I like the way they play, and I like Arteta. My worry would be the size of Jesus gets injured, Odegaard gets injured, or something along them lines, and then I think they'll struggle.
Tank, I want to come to you on something that has happened off the back of this, and this is about our mate Richard Keys. I don't know if you've seen it, right? Yeah. The fella is an absolute helmet. Yeah. So basically, he's come out over the weekend. Arsenal are celebrating a 2-1 last-ditch winner against Fulham. And he's basically started coming out saying things along the lines of they over-celebrated a 2-1 win versus Fulham. How far has this team fallen if this is how they're going to celebrate these type of wins against low league opposition? Like, forgive me, right? But I thought my interpretation of football, or how I view football is about emotion. If you're not being emotional and having these moments of release, we've all got shit going on in our lives and 9 to 5s, and football is about escapism for a lot of football fans. So to have something where maybe they felt the pressure, the fans, they thought, we shouldn't be dropping points against Fulham. They're frustrated. And all of a sudden, boom, last minute winner, or the best part of a last minute winner. That's the moment you should be celebrating as a football fan. I don't know what this dinosaur, he's just, what he is? He's a big, bitter, negative old man who's dead mad at the world. And he just seems to be taking needless pops to stay relevant.
What he is, mate, he's just a big, hairy-handed strap-on. That's what he is, and he's allegedly. He's a fucking clown, to be honest with you. So, on a serious note, like, why would you not celebrate that? Yeah. Arsenal have, there's probably been under a lot of pressure all summer because they've spent big money on the top of the league, and that goal secured that top of the league status. No matter how far the season's gone, you should be celebrating like a fucking lunatic. It's a last minute goal. That's what football is, isn't it? That's what sport is.
Don't forget it's a derby as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a London derby as well. And listen, Fulham played well. I watched that game. Fulham are a handful. They are.
Yeah, they are.
You're looking at that. Liverpool done well to get a point away from their place. But I just don't get look, he's got to stay relevant, and the man's a fucking idiot. He's just got to, he wants to see his name still bow to the bout.
But what is this? It does feel like that, doesn't it?
Isn't it? Say stuff to piss people off.
Yeah,
exactly.
like this idea of the celebration, please. I don't know. He tried to do it with Forest, didn't he? After they won against West Ham, and he's like, "Oh, you know,
enjoy it. This will be the
enjoy
only
it while
time."
it lasts."
Yeah.
I've just got no time for needless negativity. So, yeah, Richard Keys, you are our dick of the week. Not that we do dick of the weeks, but we do now.
We are now.
We are now.
We are now. He needs kidnapping and shaving, full body shaved.
But you'd be there for weeks.
Get my lawnmower and we sit on track.
Tanks facts from on top of Richard Keys next week.
Well, that's a video I don't want to see.
Oh,
no.
I'll send that on WhatsApp.
Jim, I want to come to you on Manchester United because there's obviously the win for them at the weekend, but there's a story obviously breaking now that they've gone and splashed a hell of a lot of cash on Anthony from Ajax, 100 million best part of. Now, look,
euros,
I'm sure,
100 million euros.
Yeah, 100 million euros. And look, I'm going to be consistent because it was the same with the Nunes deal. There is different stipulations involved and upfront payments. So I'm not trying to make it seem better or worse. I'm just talking about what's been reported. So best part of 100 million euros. It seems pricey, like with all transfers at the moment. You know, a lot of them do seem on the heavier end. Do you think he's worth the money? Do you think this is a type of player that they need? And I suppose, what does this do for a lot of the Glazer out brigade? You know, United, I think, have spent best part of 226 million in this summer.
I mean, there's a few points to that question. I mean, in terms of the player, I think he's quality. I really do. And I think if you're looking for a Neymar-esque player who's going to,
bold,
you know,
that, Jimmy.
What?
It's bold, that Neymar-esque.
No, I'm just saying he's got the same attributes.
Jimmy just said that he's better than Neymar there. Did you see that?
228 million. My point is sometimes you've got to take a gamble. If that's what Ajax want for the player, then that's what Ajax want for the Man United are willing to pay for the player, then that's what they're willing to pay. I think he could be a great addition. I think he's got that young Cristiano Ronaldo rawness about him. And I think if they can get him to be in that same mindset, I think you could have a player on your hands that will be there. You know, he's in the Brazil squad as a winger, and don't forget Brazil have got an abundance of wingers, and he's playing in there with Neymar. So I think he could be a great player, and I'm excited to see him in the Premier League actually, because not very often you get these young, like when Saint Maximilian came, he's doing about 85 step overs, like. That's what I want to see, and I think it excites fans. And now he's getting a bit more end product, which is what Ronaldo did the first couple of years, and then he pressed on and got the end product. So I think
Jimmy just compared him to Ronaldo and Neymar. Everyone,
no, Saint Maximilian. All I'm saying is that when you're looking at attributes, he's got them. And if you look at him, if you look at any videos of him, he's just a skillful lad who loves taking players on. So if I'm Ronaldo or whoever's playing up front, Rashford, and you're seeing him, one, they'll get a load of free kicks, and two, they'll get balls into the box and play them chop back. So I think it's a good move. Yeah, it might be pricey, and you've got to take a gamble on that, but I guess Ten Hag knows a player and he knows his mentality. It's not like you're trying to sign someone and you don't know who that player is. So, I think it'll be a good move for United. And the Glazers out, look, I understand what people looking at it going, oh, United are spending money and Glazers out. But the Glazers have taken £1 billion out of that business. Now, people pay themselves, I get that. That's their prerogative. But as a football fan, imagine what Man United would be like if they didn't have that £1 billion being taken out. And there's a fact that I think someone mentioned it on Twitter that you can't buy a club how the Glazers bought it anymore. So there's obviously something wrong with it.
Mm. So do you feel, Tank, I suppose, when you're listening to what Jimmy said there, do you feel like maybe the Manchester United fans, this will appease them in some way, or do you think that the problems are bigger than just transfers?
No, I just think that a spoilt fan base. I do. I understand what they're saying that the Glazers took money out, but if you've got a business what's making as much money as Man United and you own it, what are you going to do? Not take any money out. It's your business. It's your company. So why shouldn't he take that out? Man United are in. I'll go back to the Simon Jordan thing, and he said Man United are valued at $5 billion and they've got a debt of 500 million. It's 10% of what the actual company's worth. So if they come to sell Man United for 5 billion, they walk away with 4.5 billion profit and just pay the 500 billion. You know, they're not debt-rid. They're not in like a financial turmoil. And every manager who goes into that club gets exactly what the fuck they want. You know, 226 million he spent this summer now. Now, for me, he should be winning the league. If you're going in and you're spending now, with the squad what you've got, you should be winning the league. He should be under massive, massive pressure. And going on to Anthony, fucking hell. I mean, come on. Is this a fucking piss take? You got a lad who's had a season in the equivalent of League Two over here. So I think he scored 18 goals. And the actual, I seen a tweet before, the actual outlay for this lad is 260 million with his 6-year contract.
Included.
Wages included and the fee. What's up with Jordan Sancho? Why don't you just coach him and get him?
Jordan Sancho.
Jaden's
brother, is it?
Why don't you just go and get him? Who was, I mean, let's get it right. 12 months ago, if you got offered this Anthony or Sancho, you wouldn't even take a second glance at him. You wouldn't even look at him. You'd be saying, "Nah, you're all right. No, thank you." You know, it's all right seeing flicks and everything against Grogan on a Saturday in the Dutch league. This is the Premier League. It's a different league, and I just think it's the most unneeded, but most Man United signing ever.
That was the thing I was going to come to you on, Jim, is do they actually need him? If you, like you say there about Sancho, for example, Rashford looks like, well, he always is against Liverpool. He's very good against Liverpool, always seems to do well, but he's looking a lot brighter. Is this someone that they actually need? Because they have a similar type profile of player that they brought in for big money in Sancho.
Yeah, I mean, we've just talked around squad freshness and squad rotation. So obviously, we all know Ronaldo's going to be off by the end of the season when his contract's up. So, you know, they've brought in Elanga, who's a great young player, but you know, like Liverpool, you need a rotation of them front three. So I think that Anthony will hopefully get Jordan Sancho firing, because at the minute he's not, and he's nowhere near where he should be. So, you know, as Ten Hag seen that and gone, I can't motivate that player because he is unmotivatable. I have no idea. But I think having a player like Anthony in that squad
lifts levels,
gives him, because he just loves going forward. And this is the thing about wingers, and it's similar to Mo Salah. He goes forward. So what that does is drives that team forward with the rest of them. At the minute, you got Sancho, Rashford and Elanga, who are struggling. They're low on confidence. They've got no main striker. That, you know, they're fudging around. So he must have a plan. And you know, we sat here weeks ago slagging off this Martinez, and he's been absolutely awesome the last 2 games. So you know, time will tell, won't it?
Tank, to be fair, we were having a chat just before we started the podcast about, I suppose, the dying art of players that are looking to commit defenders and run at people. And I suppose, you know, if you do find those type of creators, they're probably going to go for that bigger price tag, because, you know, it's all well and good having maybe midfielders or defenders who are, you know, just do their jobs, they're solid. Whereas you want those players to get you off the edge of your seat, create those moments of magic in, you know, when a game's tight or they're surrounded by 3 or 4 players. And perhaps this Anthony is going to be that type of maverick player for Manchester United.
I'm not too sure. For me, sometimes you've got to look at, you know, the Man Cities and the Liverpools of the last 5 years with the transfer activity, you've got to bang on. Now, when a player becomes too expensive, you have to walk away. You have to. And this, for me, is just one of them where you just go, you wanted 45 million for him 3 months ago, and now it's 100 million. It's 85 million guaranteed up front. There's got to be a stage where you go, you know what? I'm going to walk away from that. And talking about transfers, where's the kid who they signed from Atlanta for 40 million? Wasn't it meant to be the next biggest superstar, you know, the up-and-coming superstar of world football? Where's he gone? They signed him last summer.
Who's that?
The boy from Atlanta.
What was his name? Oh,
I can't think of his name now. The black boy, the wide right, who everybody was raving about. And Man United went out and paid 40 million for him. And like, this sums it up. Like, 3 football people don't even know his name, but they spent a fortune on him. So I'm looking at Ten Hag and saying, if you're this great coach these players and get them better. Get Sancho and make him into the player he was at Borussia Dortmund. Don't go and sign a 100 million player because you know him and you've worked with him at Ajax.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting to see how it pans out. I wouldn't say now. I think, look, title challenges for United, it's all about building blocks. They've spent money, but so has everybody else. I think it's a big ask for them to be challenging for the title. I think if Man United can get in top 4, they'd rip your hand off. I think there's good teams competing for that slot, and if they can get anywhere near it, I think it's a definite improvement. I took a lot from them probably beating Southampton in this. They're the type of games where maybe they have more of the ball and they're expected to be more of an expansive side. They're the results I would look into more, rather than the likes of a Liverpool, where I think they had roughly 30% of the possession and they were able to hit us on the counter. It's what can they do against the teams where they dominate the ball, and that's definitely what I would say Ten Hag has been brought in to address. Lads, I want to touch on one final game before we get to our last question of the podcast, right? And that is the Manchester City game. Now, I'm taking my Liverpool glasses off and I'm going to just ask a couple of questions.
Right there, mate.
I'm just going to take a couple, take my glasses off and ask a couple of questions that I'm going to try and not load in any way, shape or form. And Jim, I'm going to come to you first. Did you notice any questionable decisions during that Manchester City game that me as a Liverpool fan would not pay extra attention to? And one being the Haaland high boot, and I'm not giving my opinion. And then the second, you missed that one. And then the goalkeeper rolling the ball out, Ederson rolling the ball out into the foot of the Crystal Palace player, who then went on to score. What did you make of it? Because it's obviously caused a bit of a stir online. I have my own opinions, which I'll give it in a minute, but I just wanted to get your steer on it.
I genuinely didn't see the Haaland high boot, and I don't know what the controversy is around the rolling it out and the score. Was it disallowed or was it?
It was disallowed. Yeah, it was disallowed. The goal was disallowed.
Are you talking like the old Champions League when Karius rolled it into?
It was very similar. It was very similar. Yeah.
I must have missed that because I genuinely didn't see it. I was when did they play? Saturday?
Yeah,
Archie had a game, so I was there. But yeah, look, from a Liverpool point of view, you're loading it to say that Man City are getting all the balls.
Oh, I'm totally loading it. Yeah, I was just trying to see if you could give us some steer before I go to Tank and he starts smashing his computer.
I'm sure he will, but I think them's the breaks, aren't they? Sometimes the waves go the way you want them to go, and sometimes they don't. I don't think there's any conspiracy theories that Man City are getting all the decisions. What I would be worried about is the fact that Man City were 2-0 down and come back to win. So convincingly. That if I'm a Liverpool fan, I wouldn't be worried about any decisions. I'd be worried about how easily City came back and absolutely decimated. Crystal Palace were not playing very well. I thought they were poor first half when I saw the score. And I was worried because I captained Haaland in the fantasy. And I think that second half just clicked. Give Haaland the ball and he scores. Foden is taking shots rather than passing to Haaland, trying to score, putting balls in, and how he was on in that second half, I would be very worried. And no, I don't think it's a conspiracy theory against every other team from Man City. So take them glasses off.
Tank, couple of things that Jimmy mentioned there. The conspiracy theory. I don't think there's a conspiracy theory. I actually didn't think much on the Haaland. I didn't think that was a red card personally. I could understand why with similar incidents in the past it would raise questions, but look, I wouldn't expect to see a player sent off for that. I think there's genuine questions around the goal, but I'd love to get your thoughts. And on the Haaland thing, actually, I think it was actually Rodri who came out today and said that Haaland's natural talent is making him impact games at the moment, but they want him and need him to be involved in the game more, which I thought was quite interesting to hear Rodri come out and say that. What did you make of the decisions, Tank? And I suppose, have you been impressed with Haaland and what he's bringing to this City side?
I don't think it's a conspiracy with City. I just think it's the standard of the referees in the Premier League needs to be lifted, because me personally, I think it's a red card. Mane got sent.
The Haaland one, yeah.
I think it's a red card, yeah. His foot's extremely high. It's caught the lad at the side of the face and the head, and it's a red card. You know, Mane got sent off there a couple of seasons back for a similar height. And I just think it's nothing to do with conspiracy. I just think that the standards of officiating in our league is absolutely shocking. I really do. Which I don't think we've got anyone going to the World Cup, have we? Which that tells you its own story. So, and I get what Jimmy's saying about, you know, they come out and they obliterated Palace, but they shouldn't have been given the opportunity to, because they should have been 3-0 down. The keeper's just rolled it out. It's hit the lad's not done anything, and it's rolled in and it's 3-0, and then Haaland gets sent off. You're 3-0 down and you're 10 men, and I don't think they come back from that. So I just think the officiating is cost Palace. If I was a Palace fan, I'd be fucking fuming over them.
I think you make a good point about the inconsistencies, because I've certainly, I've certainly noticed it around the offsides. I think there's been certain instances where I think the directive has changed this season, where they want to give a little bit more leeway to the attacker, which I am absolutely all for. But I've seen about 4 or 5 examples across different teams this season where they haven't been afforded the same leeway. So it's like only some of the refs are applying the new rule and some of them aren't. And I think that's all any football fan wants is consistency, which we definitely don't seem to be getting. Lads, I want to finish by talking about something that came in from our listener, Lee Hughes Yozet, and we'd touched on it a little bit today on the social media. I think he's a friend of yours, isn't he, Jim?
He is, yeah, he's a good lad.
Now, he wants to know, well, he actually said, brilliant podcast again, missing you though, Jim. So good to have you back, Jim. But yeah, what he wants to know is, what are the best boots you've ever worn, and what are the most outrageous ones you've ever worn? And I'll come to you first, Jim, before going to Tank.
Yeah, so the best boots I ever wore were the ones you put on the Predator accelerators. And I bought them in high school. I made my mum go out and buy them, and they were really expensive at the time. I think it was one of the first boots over 100 quid. I went into school. I played for Stoke at the time, telling everyone I was sponsored by Adidas.
Did you?
Yeah. So, I got Adidas sent me these. I'm sponsored by them now, and so they're the best. But I've had some very outlandish ones. I got into some gold mercurials, like the Ronaldo ones. But I got my name put on the side. Jimmy, might cost like 250 quid. And this is back
Nike do that for you, did they?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Ordered off the website, sponsored by Night Outlet. But gold, playing in some dog and duck league with my name on the side was probably not my wisest move.
And the hairband in the picture.
That's then different boots, but I'm not quite sure whether I wore. Plus bleach blonde hair. It's probably a trio of things going against me. Anything
in the name of fashion, Jim, yeah?
Mate, I'll follow any trend. Crocs, hairbands. Mate, I'm a big bandwagon jumper on her.
What about you, Tank?
No extravagance from me, mate. I think the most extravagant.
I don't have you as a coloured boot, man.
No. By the way, the gold's for the orange mic is for for tribute to the gold boots.
Okay. Even though it's a different colour.
Yeah. I didn't have a gold.
No, my favourite ones are the Mizuno wore for years. They were battered and I kept getting them repaired. And I can't give you the extravagant one, mate. Them Nike Tiempos, what I found before, are probably the most extravagant of all.
How did it work with sponsors, Tank? Because did you have sponsorships over the years, and how did they come about?
I was sponsored with Mizuno for 2 years, and they brought the first year I had them Mizuno boots, and then they brought a new pair out the next season, and they weren't the same. They were unbelievable, and actually that's why I kept wearing them over the 2-year period. And they just send you a load of shit. I think you used to get about 10 grand a season off Mizuno, and then just all like free stuff, trackies, trainers. Every sport equipment, what you wanted. So that was it, really. Only a shitty sponsor, don't get me wrong. I'm not what the boys are getting now.
Yeah. I think mine, I'm trying to think back. Yeah, so I put up the accelerators today. They were definitely my favourite. And And I was a sucker for the Predators back in the day because you remember they give you the whole story around Craig Johnson and putting the ping pong leather on the top of the boot, and I'd be out the back with me boots on, whipping balls, saying, "Look how much spin I can get on it," like, hook, line, and sinker. But yeah, I used to buy all the Predators over the years. I've always been an Adidas guy. The accelerators were definitely my favourites. Outlandish ones. So anyone that's ever played with me, Jimmy, you absolutely included in this. I am the least coloured boot wearing player, as in my ability does not go in with wearing coloured boots. And I did try. Were you playing with me that season when I went white? I went white
boots. Yeah, I did. White boots.
Yeah, and like
awful shout from you.
Yeah, they were terrible. Yeah, and I've come in and I got them out the dressing room, and like lads were like, "What are you doing wearing them?"
But not also that, though. Jamie used to wear white socks because he said it made his feet look faster.
That is true, though. Like Michael Jackson used to do that with his pants, didn't he? That's why he used to wear the high pants.
So people could see his feet, not because they look faster.
Yeah, but they made his moves look faster. The white sock and the black boots.
He wore them so people could see his feet dancing because they were that fast anyway.
Well, that's what I was doing on the pitch.
No. You thought that they made your feet look faster. So you're like running on a treadmill, but your feet look dead fast.
Yeah, so they didn't last, the white boots. And then I think I got Diodora Bombers, yellow Diodora Bombers, but they actually never made it out in public. I wore them to the school field to knock the ball around. It's like, I can't do these.
Can't carry these off.
So they never made it to the dressing room. But yeah, for anyone that's seeing the pictures that we put up on social, send any pictures of your favorite boots in, good and bad, because we've all had some shockers over the years. So we'd like to see them come in. Lads, before we wrap up, what have you got on for the week? You got much on?
Nothing, mate. No, she's just ordered a skip for getting delivered tomorrow, so that's my week fucked.
Oh, what's that? You're gutting the place, are you?
She's just throwing the load. She buys shit, and then we throw the other shit which she bought away for the new shit to replace the shit she's thrown away in the skip.
You got a week with the shit then, basically.
A week of shit. Yeah.
Excellent. Jim, what about you, mate?
The lad's got some new footy boots coming tomorrow, mate. I'm more excited for them to come than he is. They look well smart. I'm well jealous.
What did you get him?
Some Nike yellow with like orange strap, proper funky, like they're out there.
When you pick kids' boots though now, it's actually the reverse of what we had. So when you'd go, you'd be basically looking at it going, there's literally no coloured boots. Whereas now there's literally no black boots.
No.
So he chose them. He's got them coming. So and then he's going to give them a rip out in the green. So no doubt I'll be in goal, getting balls pinged at me.
Pinged at you, yeah. The perks of being a dad. Right, lads, we went over the hour. So, it's been a while since we caught up. I know Tank's starving. So, he said before we started this with you lads, hurry up, I've got me dinner to eat. So, apologies for that, Tank. Right, for everybody that's been listening, supporting the podcast, sending in your messages of support, we massively appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind doing us one quick favour, either subscribing to the YouTube channel and check us out on there if you haven't already, or leave us a review on the podcast if you listen on audio. If you could, send it on to any of your mates as well if you think that they'll enjoy it. As we always say, it is actually fantastic to see the numbers growing each week. So without you supporting and spreading the word, that wouldn't be able to happen. So if you could do that for us, that would be fantastic. But more importantly, we hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Look after yourselves, and we will be back with you again next week on the Boot Room Podcast. All the best.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers, boys.